Okay. Hello, welcome to this segment of our online yoga class. Before we get started, I would like to introduce you to a couple of little helpers that you might want to have handy. If you've been to my class, you already have them. If you're new to this class, we always need, most of the time we need a yoga belt. If you don't have a belt, you can use any belt that you can find in your house, even a martial arts belt, or you can even use a towel. So that's easy. The other thing that comes in very handy for many poses is a yoga bolster, preferably a very firm one. They are not exactly cheap, but worth getting. However, they can be replaced with pillows, and for some poses where we use the bolster for support for our legs, they can be replaced with a chair. So we can make it work with any little prop that we can find in your house. Let's get started with our opening pose, which is very healing pose for the knees. If you have knee problems, you might not like it so much in the beginning, but I can promise you it will make a huge difference over time. So you're going to start on your knees. If your knees are a little sensitive, put a blanket under your knees. Then you're going to put your knees firmly together, your feet apart. The feet are running straight as an extension of the shins, so don't have them go out. Now, some people have problems with this ankle pose. So if your ankle is uncomfortable, then you bring a rolled up blanket under your ankle. Make sure your feet are nicely apart, so it's like a triangle. Then you're going to put your thumb behind your knee, pull your calves out, reach back, and sit on your support. So this is going to be different for each one of you. I'm currently sitting on a bolster. I could also sit on the floor. For some people, the bolster is not high enough. If you're uncomfortable, if it's too much of a stretch, you can go as high as it takes to be comfortable. With practice, it's going to get much easier, I promise. Now that we're here, we're going to try and sit up straight. Roll your shoulders back. Find your lower ribs. Now check in with the position of your rib cage. There's a good chance that you might be leaning one way or twisting. This will show up in the level of your shoulders. So if you think this is uneven shoulders is a shoulder problem, it's not. It's a rib cage problem. So rally your ribs evenly, then roll your shoulders back, let the shoulder blades go back down, and all this time you're going to support your lower back with your lower abs so that you're not arching in the lower back, but opening the chest and the upper back. Last but not least, try to relax your neck. Oftentimes the hardest thing of all. If you manage to get your head perfectly aligned with the rest of your spine, you're in alignment with gravity and you will not have to tense your neck muscles. Let's try it. Okay, let's clasp your hands. Turn out your palms. Try to straighten out your elbows. If they don't want to, just go as far as you can and know that you're doing a good thing for your elbow. Now remember those lower ribs? Lift them first, then lift. And now for some of you, the elbows want to bend, and that's just because of your shoulder stiffness. That's okay, it'll get better with practice. Now we're lifting the rib cage, but try to descend the shoulders away from your ears. And again, try to relax your neck. And then open wide. Keep your head nicely aligned. Now bend your elbows And now get in touch with your shoulder blades. Try to bring them in deeper. Let them help you lift more. And again, keep your abs supporting the lower back so that you're not arching here. Great, now we're all sitting nice and straight. We'll do it again, but we'll change the clasp. So everybody has a go-to clasp. Now we're going to switch, and the other index finger is going to be in front. Turn out your palms. Lift, lift, lift. Keep lifting the ribcage off of your waistline and then descend the shoulders away from your ears. Free your neck. Keep breathing. Good. And open wide. Bend your elbows, and again, let your shoulder blades help you get more concavity in the upper back. And stay here, nice and straight. Wonderful. Now, if this pose is new to you, you're probably just about done with it. And let's find a good way to get out of it. Start by straightening up one leg. And the sooner you get the leg straight, the sooner this discomfort behind your knee is going to disappear. Second leg. Now you're going to press your thighs down with a lot of strength. As much strength as you can muster. That's a lot. Push. At the same time, you're going to flex your feet completely. And while your thighs are completely engaged, think about it as your muscles are gripping the bone. That's how strongly you want to engage. Now with your feet completely flexed, I'm going to introduce you to an important part of your body that you probably don't think about on a normal basis. It's the ball joint of the big toe. I'm going to turn this way so you can really see what I'm talking about, because I'm going to ask you to push through the ball joint of the big toe. And this is kind of a hybrid of flex and then you point just with the ball joint. So you have to have your feet completely flexed, have your thighs engaged, and then try practicing this. So this is a very profound movement that I can highly recommend to start practicing daily, because it extends the inner ankle and the inner leg. So now our legs are even, outside, inside. Keep pressing the thighs down and practice pressing through the ball joints of the big toe. The next pose we're going to practice together is profound. And this movement is quintessential for the pose. The Sanskrit name of the pose is actually named after this body part. So get acquainted and let's switch. You're going to bring your bolster onto one side. Let's just say we're starting with the left side. You're going to have your bolster on your left side. Again, if you don't have a bolster, you just get a chair. Chair should work nicely. Then your belt or toe, whatever you can use, put it on top so that it's handy. Now, I have a third helper for this pose that if you are not near a wall, you don't need to use a wall, but the baseboard of your wall can be very helpful. So we're going to use it. So you're going to set yourself up with your feet touching the baseboard. Make sure your feet are straight under you. Then you go carefully onto your backs. And now we're going to push into the baseboard and slide back so that the trapezius muscle and all the back muscles are going to be pulled down. The same will be true for your t-shirt, so hold your t-shirts so that they won't choke you. So then you push evenly and slide until your legs are straight, but your feet are still in full contact with the baseboard. Now you're going to practice the same action that we did sitting. Press your thighs down firmly. Now remember the borders of your big toes, engage them too. There we go. Now take note, my chest is open and I have space under my ribs. So you don't want to push your whole back into the floor because that will compress the spine and can be potentially painful. So keep the chest open, press the thighs down. Now keep pressing the right leg down and bring your left leg up. Bring your hands behind your knee and just pull the knee gently towards your left shoulder. Now this leg is important now because it's going to anchor you so that you don't take off with the left leg. So keep working here. This is very toning for your legs as well and important for the success of the stretch. So now we're going to work very diligently on our alignment. So this is the midline, your foot is above the midline. Your knee is going to turn out. Your whole thigh actually is going to turn out. So much so that the two hip bones should be in one line. I should have asked you first to put the belt, because let's put the belt on and then make sure we have our alignment. So you can even, with your hand, turn your thigh out. Now remember what we practiced already, the bulging of the big toe. Practice it again. Now there are two things to try. Keep in mind when we're going to straighten out the leg. You want to keep your knee looking out and you want to keep pushing through the bulging of the big toe. So now try this, but start low. Make sure your knee is absolutely straight, your foot is absolutely flexed. If you can't get there, go lower. If you get shaky, go lower. The shakiness is going to disappear. It's a big, big stretch. If this is new to you, just ease your way into it. Now watch, we're still pressing through the bulging of the big toe. Now you're going to pull really hard on your belt, so hard that you will feel the femur head getting deeper into the hip socket. And you should have a pressure on your outer left hip. And then breathe slowly, evenly through your nostrils. This might be a bit intense, but it's really going to feel good afterwards. This is a very profound stretch for anybody with lower back problems or hip issues. And I can promise you, if you practice this pose daily or at least every other day, it will eventually make you pain-free as far as your lower back goes. I am a living example of this, and I know if I didn't do this stretch often, I would probably be in a lot more back pain. So you can stay, your minimum is 1 minute, but longer is better. We're doing it together today, but if you're on your own or if you don't have much time, make sure you catch all the details. And then stay. Now I understand that I'm covering a lot of details and that it's not possible to catch all of them when you do this for the first time or when you're just learning about this pose. So don't worry about it. Do what you can and then just keep practicing. Now, your bolster, if you have one, push it right close to your hip. If you have a chair, the chair can be a little bit further out. Slide your left hand down so that your left elbow can rest on the floor. Bring your leg as high as it will go. Now really don't forget the right leg. Keep pressing the right thigh down. Put your hand on your right hip to make sure it stays grounded, and then open up. Very slowly. The groins are the biggest tendon in the body, and they're very tight and protective. So don't move too fast. They don't want to comply easily. So if the bolster is too low for your groin tightness today, then just go higher. Control the height of the leg with your arm. Make sure the right hip stays put. If it wants to take off, all that means is that you went too far with the left leg and it's pulling the right hip with it. So go back, and then after 30 seconds, might be a little easier to go a little further. Now, if you think you can go further than this, then just push your bolster out and go further. And then stay, breathe. Let the groins release. Now, remember the bulging of the big toe. Now in this stretch, this is even more profound. Press through the bulging of the big toe and feel the direct connection to the groin. This is very important stretch for your inner leg, for your hip, for your feet actually. You can stay as long as you like. It's gonna get better, but keep working the right thigh. So the right thigh is pressing down firmly. And then we're going to go back up above the midline and hang your belt over to your right hand. And ever so slightly go over to your right. Now this is a very small movement. If you go too big, you lose the contact of your left hip onto the floor, and then you lose out on the actual stretch. So keep it small and you'll feel a big stretch on the outside of your hip and your thigh. Good, come back up and let go of your belt. Float your leg down slowly. And then give yourself a little break. Get a little away from your baseboard so that you can relax your feet and scan your body. Feel how different your left side now feels from your right. Typically, if a stretch was successful, your left leg will be longer. It feels longer, but it is slightly longer because it's more released out of the hip socket. So the left hip is now nice and flat, whereas the right hip is still scrunched up. So let's even out our legs. Bring your bolster on the other side. Scoot back closer. Do your little slide. Press your feet into the baseboard. Press your thighs down. Again, find the bulges of the big toes and press them into the wall too. Then bend your right leg. If you prefer to place your belt immediately you can do so as well, and then just pull your belt so that your knee comes out towards your right shoulder. Now keep working the left leg, the floor leg. Don't let up. Now again, all these little details that I'm going over are all important. So start by bringing your foot above the midline, turn your knee out, your whole thigh needs to turn out as far as you can so that your hip is now nicely aligned. Now again, practice pushing through the ball joint of the big toe. Make sure your belt is nicely placed under the ball joint of your right foot. Now keep the turn out. Press through the ball joint of the big toe and slowly go out to straight. Start low. Because only then can you make sure your knee is straight, your foot is fully flexed. Then pull hard, anchoring the femur head into the hip socket, and then go out. See how far you can go. When it gets too intense, just stop, breathe. And over time, it'll get easier to come a little higher. Don't let up, keep pulling hard so that you feel your outer right hip pressing into the floor. Now what oftentimes happens is that the kneecap starts, the leg turns so that the kneecap is facing you. So if this happens, bend your knee slightly, turn your leg out again, and then go back to straight, and this will definitely intensify the stretch. And then breathe. And pull, activate the left leg firmly. See how far you can come up. Keep breathing, it gets a bit more intense. Then make sure your bolster is really close to your hip, or if you have a chair, have it so where you can rest your foot on the chair when we go out to the side. So slowly bring your hand down on the belt so your arm can bend, so you can control the height of the leg completely with the belt, and then the bolster comes next. Now really keep your left leg active, keep your left hip grounded, and slowly release. Now, if you think you've released a little and you can go a little further, try. If you can, make sure your left hip stays put. Good. Good, and very slowly coming back up off the midline, and your belt to your left hand, and ever so slightly go over to your left. You should feel the stretch right
away. Very good. Come back up. Let go of your belt. Plug your head down. Scoot away from the wall. And then bring your bolster under your knees so that you can lie here for a moment and relax completely. Bolster under the knees is helpful to prevent your legs pulling on your lower back. So it should be more comfortable than lying flat on the floor. And maybe you want to have your arms to the side, elbows bend, and take a break. Close your eyes. Let everything that you just experienced in your body, let it settle. And you can stay here as long as you like. And when you're done, you're going to push your bolster down so you have some space. Then roll over onto your right side and stay here for a moment. And then we're going to get up sideways. And the reason we're getting up this way is because we don't want to pull on the lower back, especially not after we've just gotten such a good stretch. Well, thank you for joining me, and I'll see you back in another segment. Namaste.